Yo, what is going on, everybody, and welcome to another video with yours truly, CST Gaming and Microsoft Flight Simulator, whether it's 2020 or 2024. Right now in the background, you're seeing some shots from Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 in this particular occasion, but we do double in both. So we enjoy 2020 just as much as 2024 and vice versa. But hey, welcome. Today's video is somewhat a little bit different. I've been asked by numerous people in my community to make a video of this sort, so I've decided to make one. Now, what is this video about, you may ask? Well, this video is me as a avid flight simmer sharing with you the learning process, if you will, some tips, some software you might actually need to be able to navigate yourself into VATSIM, how to get started on VATSIM, what do you need, what kind of tools are required, in my humble opinion, and what can you get by, and all that good nonsense. So we're going to show you a little bit of some things that I've learned along the way. I've been doing this for a very long time. I am in no way a real pilot. However, I've been doing flight simming for many years, so I know just enough to get me in trouble. I know just enough to be able to share some of my experience, some of my knowledge, and that sort of stuff with you guys. So without any further ado, let's start talking about some of the things that you need in order to get started on VATSIM. Now, the very first thing you're going to need, obviously, is a VATSIM account. VATSIM is a free-to-join online network that allows you to connect with other pilots and ATC and be able to fly on a network that is controlled from the top down, whether it's center, tower, ground, delivery, clearance, all that good stuff. So it mimics real world to a certain extent, and it gives you the ability to join a network again with somewhat of a real air traffic, if you will, giving you that immersion, giving you that realism that you might not otherwise get by flying with yourself or using AI tools such as Say Intention or Beyond ATC. Because let's face it, AI, it's cool, it's growing, it's getting better, but it will never replace the human touch, right? It will never replace you talking to another human being, in my humble opinion. Now, for some of you, the AI interaction may be enough. If you're the person, I highly suggest you go outside and touch some grass, but I digress. In any case, the very first step is to have a VATSIM account. So go ahead and create yourself a VATSIM account and start from there. The very next thing you're going to do after you create yourself a VATSIM account is very important, so pay attention. Once you have created your VATSIM account, you're going to go and read and review the code of conduct. All right, this is very important because you are to conduct yourself a certain way when on the network, whether there's ATC online or you are on advisory. There's a code of conduct that needs to be adhered by. So just make sure you go to the code of conduct section and you go through and read all the different rules and regulations and all the things that you need to be familiar with when loading a network. Not adhering by the code of conduct may get you banned off the network, may get you suspended, may get you penalized, and all that good stuff. You do not want to do that. So make sure you go on VATSIM, create yourself an account, and go through the code of conduct, and make sure you at least familiarize yourself with the different rules, regulations, and all that good stuff that you need to abide by when you are logged into the VATSIM network. Now, the very next thing you're going to do is click on the pilot basics and just scroll and read through the pilot basics. This is basic information to familiarize yourself with the down and dirty basic requirements of you as a pilot. It is not that long of a list. There's only like 8 little paragraphs to read. Just read through these. You'll get a lot of good information on there. What software to use. They talk about pilot training that you can join. VATSIM community on Discords. Make sure you click through all the links. Make sure you familiarize yourself with the pilot basics. Very, very informative and a very good place to start. The very next thing after that you want to get is obviously your software of choice. Now, whether you are flying on Microsoft Flight Simulator, P3D, X-Plane, FSX, whatever the flight sim you're using, it requires different software. So you have to choose from either vPilot, XPilot, or Swift, depending on what simulator you're using. So make sure you go on there and download your approved pilot client of choice. In our case, if you're a Microsoft Flight Simulator flyer, whether it's 2020 or 2024, we use vPilot. X-Plane users 11 and 12 use XPilot, and then Swift I think can be used for X-Plane, maybe the older versions or whatnot, and FSX and P3D and Flight Gear. Now, coming up next is something that is a must-have alongside with your VATSIM account and your vPilot client, and that is a SimBrief account. SimBrief is what is used by everybody in the flight simulation community on VATSIM to construct and file your flight plan. It is very simple. I am actually going to put one in there for you guys real quick so you can see how simple it is to do. But again, SimBrief is free to join. Create yourself an account, join SimBrief, and then start by clicking on new flight. You're gonna put your airline iCUE on there. In our case, we are flying JetBlue, so it's gonna be JBU. You may choose a flight number which is real to life by scrolling to Flight Radar 24 or FlightAware. I use the same number all the time because it's easier to get used to one number in particular. That way, when you're flying on a network, you're not trying to remember a different number every time you fly. So in my case, almost always, unless it's taken by somebody else, use 779. We're gonna put our departing airport in the depart box. Very self-explanatory. In our case, it's gonna be KJFK. And then we'll just go to Boston for this particular example, which is KBOS. Boom. Now you're done with the flight info first line. You can leave the alternate airport to auto. You make sure you refresh your departure time and all the good stuff. And then you go to aircraft info and you literally simply find the aircraft that you're finding in the drop-down list. That you're flying, I'm sorry, in the drop-down list. In our case, we're flying the 321-200. We're going to click on 321. And then the variant or airframe is going to be again the type of aircraft you're flying. In our case, we're flying the JetBlue 321, which has sharklets and it's got IAE engines. So we're going to choose the 321 with IAE engine, and that's L, which stands for sharklets. Once you've done that, you're pretty much done. You may go once you get a little more experience in the process, you may go and put in some more information on here, like if you want to choose your altitude, how many passengers you got down here, so on and so forth. You can put your fuel quantity and stuff, but SimBrief makes it easy even for the beginners, where you can leave all this stuff to auto, and it's gonna go ahead and reach out for some real world information of an aircraft flying the same route, and it's gonna get all the information for you and put it in there. So once you're done with the simple flight info and aircraft info, you're going to click generate flight. And once you give it a few seconds here to generate the flight, there is your flight. Now SimBrief is going to show you your flight plan here. You may choose to look through this, get familiar with your route. You can look at your route here. We're coming out of JFK. We're doing 4 left and we're going direct merit. And then we're taking the Roebuck 3 arrival into Boston for runway 04 right. That's down and dirty your route right here. It's giving you on this side, it's giving you a little map highlighting all your various waypoints from JFK to Boston. So that's kind of cool to take a look at. And once you're done reviewing your flight plan and you're happy with it, your cruising altitude and all the good stuff, then you can simply just come up here and pre-file on a network. In our case, we're going to be on the VATSIM network. You're going to click on pre-file and it's going to open up a second page with your VATSIM. On the VATSIM itself, once you get to the page, scroll down to the bottom of it and hit filed flight plan. Once you do that, it's going to show up on the network. And if you are in a controlled airspace where there's an ATC, they're either going to send you a PDC, which is a pre-departure clearance, or they're going to wait for you to contact them with your aircraft type, the stand you're parked at, and whatever information ATIS is current, such, information Zulu, Alpha, something you need to take a look at before you even file a flight plan. Get familiar with the information, with the weather and the ATIS, what runways are being utilized, and all that good stuff. Now, another must-have, aside from the stuff that we've already talked about, is obviously Navigraph. Navigraph is, in my opinion, the #1 tool for flight simulation. Now, the thing with Navigraph is it's payware, and not everybody can afford Navigraph, so I understand that. But for the time being, just listen. We'll go through some other options here, but Navigraph or some sort of program to be able to read, review, and learn charts is a must-have. You cannot fly on the VATSIM network without a reliable software that gives you the ability to review the charts and know exactly how to fly, how to navigate from one point to another. Without something of this nature, you should not be on the network. You have no business being on the network if you don't have a way of reviewing your charts. And why is that? Because this is something that you need to be very familiar with when you flight sim. So obviously, I have imported my flight plan from SimBrief, as you all saw. Well, let me unload this so I can actually show you this. You're going to import from SimBrief, and then you're going to select the last flight plan that you have filed for your flight, and you show up on Navigraph here. This is my plane. It's parked over here. Stand number, what is this, 24, I believe. Great. So we are coming out of runway 4 left, as you can see. On this Navigraph tool, it's very cool because you can actually look at the ATIS right now. You can see there's a VATSIM controller online, and it's telling us that departure runway is 04. Arrival runways is going to be 04 left and 04 right. Departure is 04 left again. And on top of that, it's got your ATIS information at the bottom of that. So you can actually read through this and know exactly what the information is. In our case, you can see right here that we have information India. So on first initial contact, you are going to report with information India. That way the ATC knows exactly that you know what runways to expect for either landing or departing out of controlled airspace. So that's one thing you're going to look at, right? So now that we know we are departing out of 4 left, we can go ahead and choose our departure. In our case, it's going to be the JFK 5 departure, which is going to be a runway heading initial and then vectors to the first waypoint. So in our case, if you look at, again, the various charts, you're going to have your ground charts with the various taxi routes. And there's more than this too. You can actually, there's a lot more to Navigraph than a lot of people even know. There's people out there that probably had Navigraph for years and they don't know of all the great tools that are available with this particular software. But in any case, I'm going to give you the basics. You're going to have your airport charts. Obviously, you got your departure charts, and over here you can kind of see what to expect departing out of runway 04 left. So we all know that we're coming out at 04 left. Right here, initial climb, coming out of 4 left or 4 right, we're going to climb right turn, heading 099 degrees. Our top altitude for this departure is going to be 5,000 feet, so expect 5,000 feet initially. Very simple. And then within the time that you depart and get close to 5,000 feet, you can expect the ATC contacting you to vector you to your first waypoint. So very, very crucial for you guys to have charts. And then on top of that, once you start getting close to your destination, you can take a look at your arrival charts. And your arrival charts is going to have all the various waypoint on your arrival. In our case, it's going to be the Roebuck 3. And you can expect to cross all these different waypoints at the altitude prescribed in there, and the speeds as well. So you know that we have various altitude restrictions coming in from Kennedy, right? And Coming up to roebuck, we need to make sure that we are slowing to 260 along with staying below 190 and above 12,000 feet, so on and so forth, right? So our bottom altitudes you can expect to be going down all the way to 5,000 feet if you are clear to descend on the roebuck 3 arrival and all that good stuff. You also have your airport information for the arrival airport, and on top of that you can select your arrival. In our case, we'll select the ILS approach runway 4 right, and as you can see now we have our ILS chart. ILS chart is going to give you ATIS approach frequencies, tower frequency. In our case, towers, if the airport is uncontrolled, tower is going to be our CTAF frequency, which is the frequency you need to be on when you are 10,000 feet or below, or 10,000 miles from an airport, not to 2.8, but the tower frequency of the particular airport, which in VATSIM it's called CTAF. So make sure again you familiarize yourself with the COC and all the different rules and regulations. A lot of people to this day still don't know that you need to switch to CTAF prior to landing into an airport. They think that they can stay on Unicom, or used to be called Unicom, now it's called the advisory frequency, which is 122.8. So just putting it out there. A lot of people either forget or they just simply don't know. But anyway, continuing on this chart, it's going to give you all those frequencies. You're going to have your localizer for your ILS approach. You're going to have your final approach course of 035 degrees in our case. And then you're going to have your ILS decision altitude, which in our case is going to be 218. This is for your minimums. A lot of people still don't know this to this date. This is for your minimums. You got 218 on the barrel and 200 on the radar. All right, so make sure you know that. This right here, guys, is your missed approach procedure. So missed approach, you're going to climb to 3000 on BOS VOR R030 outbound to Wexen, and you're going to hold at Boston. Okay, again, a lot of people, when they're coming to a controlled airspace and they're going to have to do a go around, they have no idea where they're going, what they're doing. It's right here, guys. Just review your charts. Get familiar with your charts before you even do the flight. That way, whenever the ATC is telling you something, you know exactly what to do, where to go, and how to navigate, right? You always want to be ahead of the aircraft first, and then you want to be ahead of the ATC as well. You want to know what to expect from the ATC, right? The ATC might tell you something, and if you can prepare yourself and be 2 steps ahead of him, then flying on the network is going to be not only easier, but it's going to be so much more enjoyable, right? So keep that in mind. Again, various altitudes and waypoints to cross at and capture the localizer over here. Mandatory, actually, there's some mandatory spots in there. Like if you look at this 6,000 feet at Goshi, that's a mandatory. You got to be 6,000 feet at Goshi, right? So please get yourself familiar with the charts, right? And I promise you, your flying experience on network is going to be so much better once you do that. All right, you might say, well, CST, but what if I can't afford Navigraph? Well, we got ChartFox, guys. Chartfox.org, right, is a free resource to use that is kind of similar to Navigraph. It's not as well made. It's not as good, but it's pretty damn good, and it's free. So head on over to chartfox.org and get yourself an account, download ChartFox and use it. It is the very best thing next to Navigraph, and it's free of charge. Over here on the map, on this side, you can actually see in orange is all the areas that are covered, right? If you see gray, unfortunately, that means that there is no coverage for those areas. But most of us, let's face it, most of us fly in North America. We got Brazil that's pretty much covered. I mean, there's a large portion where it's covered. For the areas that are in gray, unfortunately, you're gonna have to outsource some other ways of procuring charts. And there's other methods of doing so. And if you are interested into finding out what those methods are, there is a Palo resource channel on my Discord. Join my Discord and take a look at the Power Resource channel. There's a bunch of stuff for all people new, experienced, knowledgeable, or never done flight sim before in their life. There's a lot of good stuff on that channel for everybody to take a look at. But if you cannot afford Navigraph, ChartFox is a must-have tool, which is free to use, and it's absolutely a requirement. Why do I say those two things, Navigraph and or ChartFox, are a requirement? Because without charts, you will not be able to navigate yourself into a network. You cannot do that. You got to know the charts. You got to know the restrictions and speeds and altitudes and departures and arrival. That's all stuff that you're gonna have to know, and the only way to know is to study the charts. So if you don't have a tool such as Navigraph and or ChartFox, you are not going to be able to know what to do on the network. You're going to look dumb. You're not going to know what you're doing. The ATC is going to get mad. It's going to tell you to log off and all that good nonsense. So don't be that guy. Have somewhere to review, look at charts and learn charts and know what to do. Or if you don't want to use charts and you don't want to learn what to do, stay off the network. The network is not a multiplayer. It's not a multiplayer. What do you call it? Server. The network is there for people to recreate real life scenario, real life flights, and enjoy with other people like-minded that want to do that, right? If you come in there and disrupt everybody on VATSIM, you're just going to ruin their immersions. You're going to ruin other people's fun, and that's not right, guys. So if you don't know what you're doing and you have no interest into learning what to do and you just want to come in there and disrupt people, just stay off the network. Go on multiplayer, Microsoft, do other things. There's no reason for you to come on the network and disrupt the realism that a lot of people are trying to achieve on VATSIM. Another really important tool that you need to have is, in my case, VATSIM-radar.com. This is literally a live map of everybody that's on VATSIM right now, pilot and ATC included. This is a very, very good tool to have when planning to fly on a network. All right, I'll give you one of the most basic example is this. Let's say you are trying to fly out of JFK and you want to spawn in, right? You can literally zoom in all the way in, and you can clearly see that on spot 14 there is a JetBlue 2087 parked in this spot, right? Do not spawn on top of this guy. Go to 11, go to 10, go to 9. There's so many other spots that you can choose from. It absolutely blows my mind when I see people spawning on top of other people, especially when there's only 3 airplanes in the damn airport. Guys, go on the VATSIMradar.com and make sure that you are not spawning on top of other people. On top of that, what this tool enables you to do is to quickly figure out what ATCs are online right now, how many people are on the network, who's flying, and all that good stuff, right? So I can clearly see right now that we have New York Center, right? And we can do that by seeing here, it says KZNY. You can actually hover over KZNY and it's going to give you the frequency of New York Center. So you know exactly now that the frequency for New York Center is 125.325. It also gives you frequency for ground. It gives you the name of the person that's controlling ground. In this case, James Eamon is controlling ground, right? His frequency is 121.9. The tower controller is going to be Matthew Gilson, right? His frequency is 119.1. And you can take a look at the ATIS information that they currently have in JFK just by having this simple little tool that, in my opinion, is a must-have. VATSIM-radar.com, guys. This tool is absolutely amazing. It is free. You don't even need to create an account. You just go on VATSIM-radar.com and you're in. If you create an account, it's better because it gives you a lot more information and it gives you a lot more things that you can do with this particular tool. Now, on top of what we just talked about, just to recap some of the must-haves and must-dos, right, when planning to either start or continue on VATSIM is obviously you gotta have a VATSIM account. You gotta have SimBrief. VATSIM Radar is a much needed valuable tool. You gotta have your either Navigraph or ChartFox to be able to learn, study, and read your charts. Obviously, you gotta have SimBrief, vPilot software to connect on the network. On top of that, some other tips and suggestion that I would give you is to start slow. Okay, guys, if you are new to VATSIM, right, start slow. The last thing you're gonna want to do is get yourself the latest and greatest airplane, such as the Phoenix 320, 319, 320, 321, the Airbus A350. Not not even remotely knowing what you're doing and how to operate an airplane, and get yourself logged in on a network in a very busy airspace where they might be doing some type of event, and then you want to go in there and act like everybody else that is a lot more experienced and has a lot more time than you have on the network, and they know what they're doing, right? If you do not know what you're doing, the last thing you should do is log in on the network with a plane that you've never flown or flown only once and try to do an event with a bunch of air traffic and a bunch of ATCs. That's not what you want to do. The only thing you're going to do when you do that is ruin everybody's immersion and experience. You're going to look like a fool, and you're going to piss off a whole bunch of ATCs. So please don't do that. Take it slow. All right. If you're new to VATSIM and you just create your account, start by logging in on VATSIM as observer. There's an observer mode on VATSIM. So when you log in through your vPilot server or vPilot client, obviously you're going to connect. You're going to make sure that you have the right call sign in there. In our case, we are JetBlue 779, and we are on Airbus 321. So we're going to do that. There is a box here that says connect in observer mode for shared cockpit flying. And it's not just for shared cockpit flying, right? This is saying for shared cockpit flying. That's something that you're going to figure out on a later day. Right now, you starting out being brand new to VATSIM, the last thing you're going to worry about, worry about is shared cockpit. Right now, what you need to do is make sure you have the right call sign, make sure you have the right type code aircraft selected, right? And then check this box that says connect in observer mode. And once you do that, you connect to the network. Now, when you do that, you are going to be on the network. You're going to be able to not only see, but you're going to be able to hear everybody on the network, whether it's pilots or ATCs, right? But they won't be able to see you, all right? Well, what does that mean? That means that you can go ahead and create yourself a flight plan from one airport to another, and you can fly with ATC online and other pilots online, kind of follow the leader type thing, and get your learning ears on and just listen, right? Listen and then try to learn the lingo on VATSIM, try to be aware of what's going on, and all that good stuff, right? To sit there in observer mode renders you invisible, okay? Meaning they can't see you, but you can see them, and you can hear them, and you can follow the ATC as if you were flying for real on the network, not as an observer. By doing this a certain amount of times, whether it's for a week straight or for a month straight, whatever it is, at your own pace, really, you're not only going to get familiar with how ATCs and other pilots communicate with each other, but you're going to learn the routes, you're going to learn the charts, you're going to learn what to expect from ATCs, how certain ATCs say something, how a pilot should respond. And not only that, you get to listen to people that make themselves look like fools on the network as well. And that is also a very good tool to utilize, because you do not want to be that person, right? When you hear that dumb person on the network, that's the last person you want to be, right? So take notes of the dumb people on the network and make sure you're not that person. That is also another very valuable learning experience. So spend some time as observer. Sorry, I couldn't get that out. On the network, and just listen, fly along, learn, absorb all the information. learn the lingo, right? Learn the kinetic alphabet, learn how to say things, learn what the different approaches are and departures and codes and all that stuff. Review your charts, right? Make sure you learn how to fly your plane. Do not use a plane that you've flown once or twice. Make sure you know how to fly your plane. Make sure you know the basics of that plane. You need to make sure that you know how to utilize the autopilot, the FMC. An ATC might tell you to go direct to a certain waypoint. You need to know how to do that with your plane. They might tell you to descend. They might tell you to turn right a certain amount of degrees for spacing. They might tell you to execute the descent. You need to make sure how to do that. They might tell you to execute the climb. You need to make sure you know how to do that. They might tell you to hold at a certain waypoint, turning at a certain turning to a particular direction, and having a hold that's whatever miles long or minutes long, right? You need to be able to know how to do all this stuff, right? And if you don't know what you're doing on the network, the only thing you are gonna do is you're gonna look dumb. And the last thing anybody wants to do is to look dumb. Do not be that guy on the network that everybody makes fun of because you don't know what you're doing and you look dumb. Now, I'm not telling you to be scared to be on the network, but if you follow my tips and advice, you have a much more chance of succeeding on the network than you would otherwise. So start slow. Don't rush into it. There's no reason for that. Now, another little tip I'm going to give you is when communicating with the ATC, you got to be clear, concise, and to the point. There's no need for a long explanation that says, Kennedy Center, JetBlue 779, I was descending down to 6,000 and my autopilot blinked at me, and then I tried to reconnect it and then it started climbing again, and now I'm turning left and the plane is upside down. I think we got it, but I don't know what I'm doing, but I still do think I know what I'm doing. So what should I do? Can I get radar vectors to this airport? Because I don't know. I don't know how to read the charts. And look, you got to be straight and to the point. Talk clearly, talk slowly. There's no reason to speed out. A lot of people think the faster I talk, the better. You do not need to talk fast. You just need to be concise and to the point, right? If you want to contact the ATC to first contact, be concise at the point. Kennedy Center, JetBlue 779, flight level 300, 37 miles from JFK. Done. There's no reason to be like, Kennedy Center, JetBlue 779, because you know what? They're never going to understand what the hell you're saying. Slow down, be clear and concise. Get to the point, say what you got to say, and that's it. Do not hog the frequency, especially when you're in a busy airspace. Do not hog the frequency for a minute trying to explain the ATC what you think you're doing or whatever, right? If you get and you know what, it's a network. If you get into a bind where you think you are screwed, you're confused, you don't know what you're doing, there's a little button on the vPilot client that says disconnect. Well, disconnect, dude. Just disconnect. Regather yourself. Make sure you know what you're doing. Maybe go ask some people that you fly with that might be more knowledgeable. Hey, I found myself in this position. I had no clue what the hell I was doing. What should I do, right? So if you find yourself in a bind and you don't want to look dumb because you don't know what the hell you're doing, just disconnect off the network. There's no reason to stay connected and look stupid. Another thing that I will tell you, it's a little pet peeve of mine, pay attention when you are on the network. Now, I am at fault for this just as much as anybody else because I stream. When I stream, I got people in chat. Sometimes I get a little carried away by people in chat, and I might miss an ATC call or an ATC end off. And I know that's not right. I should not be doing that. And I kick myself in the butt every single time it happens. But if you don't stream, right? If you just want to be on the network and you are that guy that when the ATC calls you, you say, I'm sorry, was that for JetBlue 779? Could you repeat, please? And then the poor ATC says, yes, JetBlue 779, descend and maintain 6,000 feet, turn right heading 280, expect ILS approach runway 04 left. And you say, JetBlue 779, we are going to turn 04 left, and then we're going to expect the ILS approach for 6,000 feet, and we're going to turn... I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Guess what? You are the dumb guy. Okay? Pay attention, all right? Another tip. Pay attention when you are on a network. Asking the ATC multiple times to repeat themselves and then still messing it up after they repeat themselves 2 or 3 times and you still don't know what the hell you're talking about, not only tells me that you don't know what you're doing, but you're simply dumb. That's it. In my opinion, you're just dumb, right? Because you can't recognize that you don't belong on the network. So please, please, please pay attention on the network, okay? Sure, do we miss calls occasionally? Yes. That's what we say, could you repeat? And pay attention. If you're asking somebody to repeat what they say, pay attention, okay? Don't disrespect them by asking them to repeat and then not paying attention and then asking them to repeat again. That is very disrespectful. And you should not do that, okay? Last thing I'm going to say for this little short video is abide by the VATSIM, COC, or cutoff conduct at all times, okay? Whether you have ATC online or you don't, and you might be on Unicom or what used to be former Unicom, now called Advisory, or 122.8, only because there is no ATC online, it doesn't give you the reason to act a fool on the network and having conversation with your friends while at 30,000 feet, talking about what they had for dinner and what they're doing tomorrow and what's the route they're gonna be flying and meowing and all that good nonsense, okay? Read the code of conduct. That is not allowed on the network. The advisory frequency is not a one-for-all frequency where you can go and shoot the shit with your friends. Again, I'm gonna say this one more time, guys. VATSIM is not a multiplayer server. VATSIM is a network created for flight sim enthusiasts to be able to recreate real life flights and immerse themselves in that touch of realism and have fun doing it with like-minded people. And hopefully get controlled from the top down. With that said, guys, I'm going to end it right here. I think I gave you some very valuable tools for those of you that are new. I think I gave you some very valuable tips for those of you that are new. And I'm not going to call you dumb anymore if you are that guy. However, I will tell you, when on the VATSIM network, don't be that guy, okay? Just don't be that guy. Make sure you study your charts. Make sure you study your aircraft. Make sure you know what you're doing at all times on the network. That will make it for a better experience for yourself, and it's going to make it for a better experience for the other person on the network that's trying to have fun and be the best flight simmers they can be. Having said that, guys, I'm going to tell you what I always tell you. I salute you all. Continue to stay safe, have fun, and as always, peace out.